If you're still on, say, Windows 7, it shipped with PowerShell 2.0. Fortunately, you can download PowerShell 3 and install it on backwards systems such as Vista and Windows 7. It also installs on Windows Server 2008 and 2008 R2. So when I run this PowerShell 3 command, you can see it actually opens up an Internet Explorer window, and we'll open it up and show you, here's everything you wanted to know about Git command in a nice looking format. So we get the detailed description, and this is the same information that you see, it just is laid out a lot prettier and a lot nicer. So if you're running PowerShell 3, I encourage you to use the -online switch with Git help as you learn things. So also, most commands have a --? Switch, which essentially equates to Git help using that command. So if I use Git command with a question mark, you can see at the bottom I still use help. Now, I showed you a minute ago the Git child item. Everything in PowerShell is represented as a collection of objects. So think about the file system. You start at the C drive, and then you work your way down to the folders, and then in each folder you have drive files. And pretty much everything in PowerShell works like that. So Git child item gets me the list of them, but I can also use set location to change the current directory. So here I'm going to go to my projects folder, and you can see down here in the bottom I get ps:/projects. So my prompt changes to show my current folder. I can go back to where I was using set location again and return to the intro folder. Now, in my intro, I talked about how you can combine commandlets, kind of like Lego blocks, to create new powerful functions. So here, I'm going to combine Git child item with another command called where_object. Where_object takes the output of the previous command and filters it for the condition that is in the little squiggly braces. So here, I am saying where the object passed in from Git child item has a length property of greater than 10 kilobytes. And we're going to talk about more about the syntax here momentarily, but understand that what's going to happen is Git child item is going to return essentially an array of file objects. Then each individual one gets piped through where_object, and it does so using this pipe command. You can see here that little guy that I got highlighted, he's the pipe symbol. It's typically the shifted / key on most keyboards. And so it redirects output to where_object, and let's actually run this. And you can see here, instead of getting everything, I only get the files that are greater than 10K. Well, that's okay, but they're not really sorted. It would be nice if they were sorted in some particular order. Well, we can then combine where_object with another command called sort_object, and for sort_object we tell it what property we want to sort on. So let's go here and let's run this command. And you can see now I am sorted from smallest to largest, and this process CSV is my largest file. If I scroll down a little bit, you'll see that I can actually break these commands up on multiple lines. You know, you can see here that as I type this guy out, he's starting to get a little long, a little difficult to read. Well, if the pipe symbol is the last thing in the line, you can just hit the pipes next command, and then finally the last command in the list, and PowerShell knows you've hit the end of the line because there's simply no more pipe symbols. So if I come here and run this, you can see I get the exact same output. I can also go so far as to format my output. So again, we're going to use the pipe symbol to send it to the format table commandlet, and we're going to pass in the properties that we want to see. So what format table does is it takes the object that gets passed in and it says, oh, well, what properties do I want to display? So it says name, length, and then the auto size switch says you figure out how big I need to make these. So when I highlight like this, you can see now I get a nicely formatted table with the name and the length, and I get the files and they are indeed sorted in the correct order. I can also use another command called select object, and what select object does is it simply returns the properties that you said. So when I run this, you can see I only get back my two properties from getChildItem. In this case, it is the name and the length. Okay, name, length. Now, pipelines are part of the magic to making this work. The other part is that everything in PowerShell is a .NET object. So when I load up a variable, all variables begin with a $, and you simply say equals and then whatever you want to put in there. So here I've loaded up with one that says I'm now a PowerShell, and I can actually, just like in .NET, use the dot syntax, and I'm going to call the getType method. And when I do so, you can see that it is a .NET type of string. Okay? So let's go take a look more at variables now. I'm going to use a command called clearHost to clear the screen. All variables start with a $. So I'm simply going to load up the variable hi with hello world. Now that I've loaded it, I want to see the value. Well, to do so, all I have to do is just say $hi, and it will echo the value in that variable back to the screen. If I actually, the true command though is called writeHost. I simply say writeHost in the variable name, and there it prints it to the screen. Whenever I say $hi, PowerShell understands that what I really meant was writeHost hi and takes care of inserting that for me before it executes the command. Now, as I showed you a minute ago, all variables can have a type, so we'll use getType to show that this is a string. It's important to understand, though, that within PowerShell, all variables are what we call mutable. That is, the data type of a variable can change as different values are assigned to it.